So let's move on to the not so good. Okay, so the we talked about this earlier. The media is going to hammer this. The right wing media is going to hammer this for a long time. But I've said it before. You and I have talked about this on the show many times. Is we have seen numerous times that something like this happens. A day goes by, a week goes by, 5 million things happen within that time period, and people start to forget. So, the question to you, Lana, is this going to settle down and are people going to forget it, or are they going to be able to use this, they meaning the right wing media, and hammer this so hard that it's going to continue to stay in people's minds? Because they'll shape it in a way that this is you can pull enough clips to shape this as in Joe Biden was just has no idea where he's at.
But they have clips anyway, and they do that.
Correct.
They do the AI, so I don't see anything different. I don't. They will try to beat it to death, but if Democrats shut the hell up about it and stop talking about his sister and his son, they need to talk to him and have a serious conversation about continuing. And it's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, stop it. That is just a and do what? And do what? Because this is all we do. This is what liberals do. Suggest. This is what they need to do.
Yeah.
But then do what?
Yeah.
Kamala is not going to beat Trump. That's not happening.
I don't know if that's true.
She's not beating Trump.
Why do you say that?
Her polls are down lower than Biden. They're not voting for her. If you think Biden has a hard time with black men, do you think black men are voting for Kamala? They're not. She's got her own problems that she has to deal with. This world is not ready for a black woman president. It is not ready. They were not ready for Barack. They're definitely not going to vote for Kamala.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's just my thought. And you want to risk that?
Yeah, I mean,
her polling's not good. It's not good.
Risk either way, and my guess is that if there was a replacement, which we'll talk about, and because obviously I think it's important to talk about it because it's just been suggested, but I think if they did do a replacement, they are going to look at a Gavin Newsom. They're going to look at a Gretchen Whitmer. They're going to look at a Pete Buttigieg possibly. But I think Newsom would probably be the guy. But
that's wild. Like, it's fucking wild. Republicans win because Republicans support no matter fucking what. If the roles were reversed, Republicans would never go on TV talk about he needs to be replaced. The first time that Biden has a bad debate, he's delivered PACs, CHIP, jobs, unemployment, all of that shit. The first time he gets uncomfortable, that's why I always say the liberals today would never make it through the civil rights movement because just too weak. The minute it gets tough, no one has Biden's back anymore. Now it's like, oh my, like everyone wants to turn away from him. That's some fucked up shit. And he's got to think that in the back of his mind, like, God damn, they don't even have faith in me either. Like,
well, you know what? That's the power of, to me, the right-wing media is that sometimes you even get the people who don't subscribe to that media to buy into the narrative of what they're saying.
Right.
And that is very scary. And you're right. I do want to acknowledge, we do have a comment. One day to the next, he or she, I apologize, I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but we go back and forth a little bit on the comment section in the comments there, and I always appreciate that they come on and at least comment. But it says, if I were Trump after the first 15 minutes, I would have been thinking, holy crap, I'm going to be president again. And I don't disagree with that. I think Donald Trump was looking over a few times. In fact, I mean, I hate to say it, it almost looks like Donald Trump looked over at Biden and felt sorry for him a couple times. I mean, it just got that vibe, that is just like, and I personally think Donald Trump could have been even harsher to Joe Biden during that entire debate and have said some really mean and terrible things that would have played to the base. But I don't think it would have played to the rest of America. And I think that plays out a little bit too as we get, further along in the show. But like I said, I just want to kind of take it in segments here so we can work up to what I believe is going to be the ultimate. See, I feel like Biden right now. It's like, and I'm nowhere near his age, and I didn't travel across country, come back, travel across country again, and then have to go debate and get into a shit talking contest with a professional shit talker. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I have heard, I listen to these people who, Pod Save America, they were in the Biden administration, and they would help Biden prepare for the debates and all this stuff. And they have made it clear. They said these incumbent presidents, they hate this more than anything, preparing for these debates, that they even have to do it. It irritates them. And you have to go through this whole thing. And that clearly came across with Biden last night.
And he's across from a felon. Like, literally, right. I would have been like, what the fuck is this? I am the president of the United States. Why am I standing across from a fucking rapist? Yeah. Like, what is this?
Yeah. So I do have some clips. So I want to play some of the highlights of the debate last night, and then we could talk about, some of the things that were on here, and then we'll go from there.
Not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
That was over 10 minutes into it, and that's what I thought. If he would have asked me, I would have thought that was earlier into the debate, but that was the part where I think from that point on, that little part got in Joe Biden's head. But as the debate went on, you could tell he kind of got his footing back a little bit, but he just wasn't as sharp as he had always been. And again, Trump was as sharp as could be, but they were all based on
sharp.
Well, sharp. Know. I mean, sharp. And again, I say this not to give praise to Donald Trump. What I'm saying is he's sharp in his words, but none of his words were anything but lies. So when you said earlier,
like he was saying lies, but shit that didn't make sense either. He didn't complete sentences either. Like, it's because he says it forcefully.
I say it like this, and maybe I can put it this way to help with my analogy here.
Yes.
He's more like a used car salesman. When you can talk with authority and you can convince somebody who is buying this piece of shit car, when you say it with that authority, that's the sharpness I'm talking about. Okay. At the end of the day, if that used car salesman sold that car, he won. And that's the analogy that I would use. Does that make more sense?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So watch a few more highlights here.
Destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
That was good.
My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up.
You have the morals of an alley cat.
You're gonna answer?
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one.
See, that's where I was a little disappointed. He absolutely should have attacked that. He should have attacked and said,
Biden would have never, I don't think he would have done that 10 years ago. He wouldn't have been on the stage talking about a porn star.
Yeah, but he said, I think, again, they told him, look, these are the things to attack him for. Attack him. And he brought it up and thought, okay, I did my job. But you have to continue to attack
But that's not Biden's way.
No, you're right.
We're expecting something from someone who has been in politics as a gentleman.
Correct.
And politics were different. And now you're saying you have to attack him and say he couldn't even call him a rapist. He said molester. Like
Yeah.
he just said this little thing, right?
Yeah.
Like he couldn't say the words. He
But,
didn't
you
want to say that.
Well, let me ask you, Lana, because 4 years ago, he was in one of probably the worst shit talking debates. Not probably. That was 100% the worst debate of all time 4 years ago, the first time that those two debated. Now, I think Joe Biden, if somebody told me that was the worst performance a president has ever had in a debate, I wouldn't argue.
Yeah.
But I think an overall debate that that first one was awful, and it was a shit talking contest. But Joe Biden was able to hold his own because Joe Biden's still a Scranton, Pennsylvania guy. He was raised kind of as a tough guy, a little bit. So he can get in it. But I think at this point here, as being a little bit older and kind of almost being insulted that he has to be on stage with somebody like Donald Trump, played into that a little bit. What do you think?
I think absolutely. And I think when he was getting into it with them before, maybe it's because Trump was in his face with it. Like there was no shutting off mics. So it was definitely a going back and forth. And maybe that's what they needed. Maybe if there was a going back and forth, like he would have like woke up and was like,
Yeah. All right. Let's hear a few more minutes of this debate last night.
Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States.
I think that's the other thing, Lana. I think the only issue is that a lot of times when Trump was talking, Biden did look. It was just like, dude, you be aware that the camera's on you as well.
That's what they were saying. He should have been on the other side because he kept looking at the moderators or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was looking off.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, I think we've heard enough. We get the point of last night. We've already talked and gave our, sort of description on that. So let's move on. We can move on now to the not so bad. As I said, the first
Pelosi. I was just like, Pelosi did it. Did you hear Pelosi today?
What did she say?
Oh my God. She said she's like, oh, so I not manufactured my own assassination. She said something about that. Like, oh yeah, so I, engineered my own assassination.
Well, this is the frustrating part, right? Is that, you take professional people who've been doing this their entire lives, and they have to now argue with a clown. That
answer that question, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, I think most of us could probably, if we got into some sort of debate or anything with some idiot, we probably just walk away. They can't walk away because this is their job. This is what they're talking about. And unfortunately, they have to engage in this nonsense. And anytime you engage in nonsense when you're not a nonsensical person, right, it could trip you up, but when you are a nonsense person, I mean, it could just absolutely, you're going to win every time because you have no morals. You have no thought of saying the right things.
Right. Right. He can fix anything.
You can't battle that.
I don't even know if he could battle the abortion because Trump would have just came back like he did and said, oh, Democrats are giving birth to babies and setting them aside to decide whether they're going to abort them. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I think he could. Yeah, I think he could have battled it. I think all he needed to do, I think for me, Joe Biden, all he needed to do was just come out, sound normal, sound fine, and just walk right through that and just get the hell out of there. He did not do himself. He did himself a disservice, but again, we're going to get to the road to recovery. And I think you and I are probably on the same page of what's going to happen later. Baby Juggernaut has joined us. Hi, guys. Biden looks stronger in Raleigh today. We're going to get to that for sure. And I definitely agree with you. But Lana, you brought up the point about Democrats and how they panicked. And, I normally don't watch first of all, I can't stand the pregame stuff and I can't stand the postgame stuff. And I normally don't watch it, but after the debate was over, I kept CNN on for like 10 minutes and it was just depressing. And it was like,
It's like a eulogy.
well, that's what you even put, I think, on Twitter today is why is everybody acting like Joe Biden died?
Like when I woke up, looking at Morning Joe and everyone's just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah.
Yo, this is wild.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say that I did not have a bad feeling watching. I think I've made that clear. There was part of me that's like, oh no, what is going on? Now, there wasn't a part of me that said, okay, we got to immediately find the replacement for Joe Biden. My thought was, okay, how do we move forward with this, and how are they going to word I'm looking for? See, I feel like, how are they going to react?
We'll find your replacement. How about that?
Yeah, find Lana will be on Tuesday night with somebody else. I don't know. Are you going to keep the name of the show? So as long as I'm with somebody else Tuesday night,
I'm call it the White and Black Show.
She's gonna be on her show, on the Quest show, and she's gonna be like, gosh, poor Brian, he's losing it, and we're gonna have to find his replacement.